for June 2nd Sunday, welcome everybody who came out today to our Transcendence home to support the message that we'll be sharing today. There's a lot going on in the world, as you all know, outside of you and inside of you. And so today what I'm going to be doing is sharing a message, and not only a message, but hopefully help you guys with some new path directions, because the second half of this year is just going to be faster, and depending on where your vibrational state is, it could be a rough ride or it could be a really smooth flowing river. So thank you guys all for coming out. What I'm going to do is actually introduce one of our A-team members, Annette. And Annette is going to come up and do a short little talk and ground us all and get us really ready for the message, including me. So, welcome Annette. Come on up.
Yahoo! Hello, I'm going to sit down because I'm a little taller than Jess is. So, first of all, welcome, Second Sunday. I know you're here to help facilitate Jessica's transmission of this information. So if you just all close your eyes and get comfortable in your chair and take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale. And as you're breathing, with each inhale, feel relaxation pulsing through your body. With each exhale, feel all tension, all resistance, leaving the body and traveling down through your body and out the bottoms of your feet and into the earth, to be absorbed and transmuted into loving energy. We inhale and hold it to the count of 1, 2, and 3, and exhale. We feel that energy coming in through our feet, into our knees and our thighs, our hips, on up our body, through our major chakra centers, into our heart. Our arms and neck and head are all completely relaxed and at ease. And as we breathe in, and hold it for just a second, and exhale, we feel all tension, all resistance, everything that does no longer serve us leaving our body. We feel a great cord of connection going all the way down through the earth to the very center, wrapped around a rose quartz crystalline core. As we inhale, we feel the love energy coming from earth itself into our bodies, energizing all of our chakra systems. We feel that connection and peace with the earth and everything involved with the earth. And we take that love energy that we are trading as we send love to the earth, and we receive love. We take it through the top of our crown chakra, through our transpersonal space, into the heavens and ethers, and connect there. And as we send love from our heart space up that cord, we notice we're receiving love, and in an infinite figure 8, infinity motion, we become a piece of sacred geometry as we receive and give love, traveling through our heart space and receiving and give love, traveling through the earth. And as we feel this connection, we feel the oneness with everything that is, and for just a moment, we can feel every cell, every molecule of our body singing in harmony with the universe for our highest good and the highest good of everyone else. Setting a clear intention to be open, receptive, and having no set agenda as to what we hear or perceive in the next hour. Just pure knowing, forming our questions and not being afraid to ask them, so that our channel in this next hour will be clear and pure and beneficial to everyone. So we breathe in and bring our consciousness back to this body vessel that we're in. We maintain that heavy connection to Mother Earth and stay centered in the moment. You open your eyes. Now I'm going to bring Susie up here, and she's going to tell us about some specials that we've got this month with Transcendence.
Hi everyone. I think I'm too tall. I'm on the net. Actually, I'm not going to talk about anything about specials. Jessica asked me to be the featured A-Team member this month, and
Well, that's pretty special.
I am generally not one that's really comfortable in being in front of the camera. I'm very comfortable in being myself and being free and being open and trying to allow everybody else to be their childlike self. When I was growing up, my dad was a drill sergeant in the Army, and I actually called my mom the other day because I don't have any memories of my childhood. I don't have any memories of my dad and my mom, but I have good memories that my dad was a good dad, and I remember him tickling us and doing the zerbit thing on your bellies and making me laugh and stuff like that. But I really don't have any memories of us going anywhere or doing anything, and I called my mom the other day and I asked her about it, and she actually told me that for the first 12 years my dad was never around. He was an amazing dad, he was an amazing husband, and, but he was in the Army, and so he had 3 tours in Vietnam, and he was also stationed in Germany, and my mom was a single mom, and I just don't remember any of that. And I think a lot of that has to do with, I have a program that's running in my mind that Jessica helped me with this last week, of it's not fair. And in my life, nothing was ever fair because my sister was the older one, my sister was the smarter one, my sister was the one that was the straight A's, and she was just the older one and she got away with everything, and I was the younger one and I didn't get away with anything. And I remember the memories I have of my dad of me getting my butt whipped. I mean, it wasn't abuse, it was when I deserved it, and in my eyes I deserved it now, thinking about it as a grown-up. Going down to the river when I wasn't supposed to, and taking the car, or whatever the situation was. So, but the program that I have going in my brain is it's not fair. And I have a habit of doing that with my stepchildren now. I do that with my husband now. I do that with my coworkers now. I don't really say anything, but I've got a program just going that it's not fair. And I know a lot of the programs that I've had have been due to the childhood that I had. And I have actually overcome a lot of the things that have gone on in my life due to the brain tap. I've been using the brain tap, which is a brain reentrainment device. I've been using this for about 6 years, and I'm going to just tell you, this has been life-changing for me. I'm not a salesperson, I'll say that off the bat. But I can tell you this has been life-changing for me, so that's the reason why I'm so passionate about the brain tap. I used this about 10 years ago. I ended up with this cyst, and it put me in the hospital, and it was just at a point where I had become a clean, healthy eater. I gave up soda, I gave up junk food, I did this big thing where I did fasts, and I took a turn for my life, and I started eating healthy, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I ended up with this big major cyst and in the hospital for 7 days. It was a blood disease or disorder or something that was going on. They never really figured out what was going on, but my white blood cell count was through the roof. They had me on antibiotics 24/7. And here I've just gave up all of that stuff, and I was going natural. And my whole life I had strep throat and tonsillitis due to the fact that my dad was a drill sergeant, and I was never able to say what I wanted to say or speak my piece. And so then I started using the brain tap while I was in the hospital, and I did the stress relief series, and it kind of took a turn that I decided I was on vacation. So here I am in this luxurious hotel that just had this whole women's wing remodeled, and I had these people that were catering to me. They had this brand new kitchen downstairs, and the chef even came to everybody's rooms, and I had my own private room, and I had friends, and I had flowers, and I decided to turn that into a vacation. And so here I am in this awesome resort, just being pampered and everything. And when I decided to change my mind, and instead of being the victim of whatever this blood thing that was going on, my numbers started going down. So I realized it probably day 5, and then on day 7 they released me, still never knowing what it was that caused that. And I wish I knew at the time what I was thinking right now that I'm more awake on what put me in the hospital. What were my thoughts, what were my patterns, what was going on with my home life. So I also used the brain tap to quit smoking. I used it twice and I quit smoking. I used it to change my eating habits. I did the weight loss series and I lost 25 pounds. This last year I've had, ever since I was in my 20s, I had this horrible fear of water. I'm a Cancer, so I love the water, I love the beach, I love the ocean. But when I was in my early 20s, I had a near-death experience whitewater rafting. I got pulled out of the raft and I went down the entire section of rapids pinned underneath it. And I remember opening my eyes underneath the raft and actually having to pull myself up. And I popped out, and when I popped out, and this is a section of rapids where the photographers are at. It was a really big section of rapids in Colorado. When I popped out, somebody hit me in the face with an oar, and luckily they did because I just floated on down. I mean, instead of struggling and instead of that, so they pulled me out down at the bottom. And this was the first day of a 3-day raft trip. So I was in sheer panic after that. So for the next like 6 weeks, I remember waking up in the middle of the night just fighting the water and fighting to get out underneath it. It was like night terrors, it was horrible. But I love the water. I'm a Cancer, I go to the beach every year, every opportunity I get. My husband and I go to the Caribbean every year in December. And every year for the past 15 years, we have been going to the Caribbean, and every year I try to snorkel. And every year it got worse and worse and worse. And about 2 years ago, I was actually at the point where we went out on a snorkeling tour. I stepped off the ladder, I had a life jacket on, I had a noodle on, I'm holding on to the ladder, I'm holding on to the rope, and you could see the panic in my face. I couldn't even get off of the ladder. It was just horrible. So I got with the creator of the device, and he created the Phobia series for me. And then last year we went to Antigua, and I used the Phobia series 3 times. I just did 3 different sessions before we went. And I went snorkeling last year. I swam with the turtles, I swam with the stingrays. I did not even use a life jacket. I went out by myself without my husband. I swam over sunken ships. It was incredibly awesome. So that's my story with me and the brain tap. It's been very life-changing for me, and this is the only thing that Jessica and I actually carry in Transcendence that we promote and that we sell. And anybody that's listening, if you're interested, I'd love to offer you 30 days for free. All you gotta do is message me or send me an email or give me a call. You have to call me though in order to get it. And then if you're also listening and you're interested, I'm going to offer everybody on the second Sunday event $100 off of the brain tap, just because it's been so life-changing for me, and it's actually very affordable. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, my email is transcendencekc@gmail.com, or you can call me at 913-341. Oh, it's on the website, Amber says. Okay, so our website is www.transcendencekc@gmail.com. So anyways, thanks everyone. So Jessica is ready to give her message. So everybody, welcome Jessica.
All right. Well, thank you Susie. Thank you Annette. And if any of you guys know Susie, that was not easy for her. So she's come a really long way this year, and getting herself and her stories out there.
I did the public speaking series this morning before I did this.
Shots of tequila work just as well. Well, I want to jump into the message because it's going to really come full circle with everything that's going on with you, that's going on with us, and with the world. In 2014, I was called, kind of forced, into opening Transcendence Wellness Centers. And the Transcendence Wellness Center idea was a safe space to heal. That was the mission. That was what was getting me fired up to build my team, to figure out how we were going to pay for everything, to get it started. And that was kind of my desire point was, I realized that going through my own personal healing journey years past, I was alone and I had to fall down constantly in order to investigate my own patterning, my own vibration, because I didn't have a sounding point. I didn't have anybody to help me with my blind spots. Although everyone was pointing out my blind spots because everyone was my teacher. I just didn't realize that yet. I didn't realize that the people that were pushing my buttons and taking from me or forgetting about me or abandoning me, I didn't realize in that moment that those were my teachers. I thought that I needed people just like me that would help me bring this message to the world. And so we opened Transcendence Wellness Center, and I remember when we opened it, I got this download, and it said, "You're building an army. You're building an army of messengers. You're building a team of light." And I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional. And in that moment, I realized that it wasn't a safe space to heal. It was a voice that needed to be anchored into a vortex to call all of you, so that you could remember who you were, and that you could come and be assistants to the world. Sorry, it must be somewhere down here. And in that journey of opening Transcendence Wellness Center, we got a lot of attention very quickly because we were very courageous in our efforts. We weren't hiding behind any kind of bridge-gapping, three-dimensional onset modalities. We were talking quantum. We were talking energy medicine. We were talking, time travel. We were talking parallel realities in the middle of Kansas. And we got a lot more understanding than we really thought we did. And we started to build this team. And this team, what I realized, was basically a huge support system that came together to hook together like a big puzzle. And our teachers was everything else. So the support system that we were building was basically an army. And the ironic part of June is that last night, me and some of my amazing team members got the opportunity to go to the Army's 242nd birthday party last night. And we were invited because we're building this nonprofit for veterans called the Veterans Initiative. And what it is it's actually a resource and a rehabilitation center and opportunities for veterans. Once they actually come back from serving, they can actually, the process of them being able to heal before they integrate back into their family units. Now think about all of us. Think about all of us going to the boot camp of our lives, going to war, and then having to integrate back into our families and our schools and our jobs and our relationships, and not feeling the same after those awakenings, after those moments, after those downloads, after that war. And what I was realizing last night with this keynote speaker that just blew my mind, here I am sitting at a table surrounded by government officials and military alumni and veterans and people currently serving. And I'm thinking to myself, none of these people really have any idea really of what it's like to be in the Army. And then the keynote speaker started to speak. And this, as I sat on the stage, or I sat looking at the stage, I realized that the man sitting up there was an indigo. Because as he began to talk about his service in the Army, he was talking about what it meant to be in a support system and having to leave your home and go and become this other version of yourself and then try to come back and not be understood. Anyone else felt like that during your journey? And as he was talking about the elders and shamans and how back in the older days when men would go to war, they would never come home directly back into their family units. They would never come home back to the tribe. They would go to a separate community filled with medicine women and shaman and specialists that would rehabilitate them and heal them back to who they were before they were reintroduced. And I thought to myself, this is exactly what we're doing. We're creating an opportunity for not just veterans, but anyone who has survived their own personal war, which we all have, and we are still, to be able to not assume that you can go through the transitions that we've all gone through, whether it's breaking patterns or leaving unhealthy relationships or just waking up and then having no place to integrate before you move back into a society and a system that doesn't really understand you. And so I was listening to him talk, and then I realized that the world is changing right in front of my eyes, because this veteran that stood on stage has an entire camp in Texas where they bring veterans and they teach them through nature-based therapy, rehabilitation, mindfulness, yoga, nutrition, energy medicine, horse therapy, to how to become who they were and who they are now after they've served. And it was beautiful. It was the perfect timing for today's message, because as he sat up there and spoke, I realized that the world is waking up, and it's really starting everywhere, and we're all doing it. We're doing it in our spiritual communities, we're doing it in our government, we're doing it in our military, we're doing it in our schools. Schools are actually offering meditation now instead of detention. This is happening. The world is changing. We no longer have to be afraid that we're living in a world that doesn't understand us. Because if we're still playing that story out, it is us, it is we who don't understand ourselves. And my mind was blown, and after the fact, I realized that I had judgment. I had judgment on feeling like, you know, here we are as light workers and messengers, and here we are, this army of transcendence, this army of light, and we are, you know, up against anything other than ourselves. And on stage, this very man basically reinforced it every message that we've taught over the last 5 years. It's about being who you came to be. And I don't know about you guys, but March and April and May, they were rough. They were rough months. And, you know, the energy on the planet is not going to get any less bumpy. It's going to get faster. It's going to get more intense. Because what's happening is the frequency is leveling up. The frequency is increasing on the planet. And so is the frequency within you. The frequency within you is asking you to be more of yourself constantly. Constantly. Being that messenger of yourself. Realizing that everything that's happening around you is because of you. And now if you've been listening to Second Sunday, what I'm trying to do is keep you guys in the loop month after month after month of what's going on with collective consciousness and those who live outside of collective consciousness. Those who are aware and still are operating in a third dimensional space, but are aware so much more than the status quo, going through the motions, stuck in the ruts, doing the 9-to-5 routine. Those of you who are aware that that isn't what you want to do have a huge responsibility. And that huge responsibility is to yourself. And if the last few months have been maybe moments of crisis, you know, last month was breakdown, breakup, breakthrough. Anybody go through that? Right? At least somewhere. You had a little breakdown maybe, had some breakthroughs. Well, the truth of it is as we move into this Gemini energy, this Gemini is all about that split identity. It's all about the you, the logic you, and then the other side of you, that spiritual you. And if you're like me, you've probably had moments over the last couple of months where you've been like literally besides yourself. Things are happening around you, old patterns are spinning out, yet there's a very big awareness going on of everything. And we're aware of actually what's taking place while things are spinning out of control. And that's new. Because what we're doing is we're leveling up. We're becoming one with our higher self. And in order to become one with our higher selves, we have to unbecome anything that's not us. With the energy, with the full moon on the 9th, moving direct from Jupiter, everything is synchronicity to help us shed and basically let go of all things that are not serving us. And anything that isn't your personal integrity will be manifested so that you can see it really close. That's a gift. And understanding that it's a gift to manifest something that you don't want, to see that it's been playing out in your vibrational frequency. So in last week, well, I'll just tell you the story. So the last couple of weeks have been probably the most intense, difficult weeks of my life, probably my entire 42 years. And I was faced with a lot of old programs from the past, kind of slapping me in the face. And this time I was aware of it. There was no one I could blame. There was no one I could judge. There was no one that I could hold accountable. It was just all happening in perfect synchronistic event so that I could see that that program was running in my field. And, you know, I'm human. So I crashed and I had my dark night of the soul, and I cried and I had a lot of grief released. And in that process, I asked, how do I actually destroy or change a program? Because we know that we can change a pattern, we can change behavior by changing our behavior. We can change a pattern by changing us. But if there's programs running, like Susie was talking about, we have no idea where they are or how they're unfolding until they manifest. And usually what we do when something manifests, we go right into, I want to feel better. That's where we go. When something happens in our reality, the instinct in your reptilian brain says, I want to feel better now. Example, I have a headache. I don't want this headache. I want to feel better. Take a pill. Instead of going, why do I have this headache? And that is exactly where we need to be in order to make it through the next 6 months of this year. We can't be in the pain looking for the reward to feel better. We have to be in the pain and ask why and how and for what reason is this showing up for me? How is this showing up for me so that I may be aware and understand it? Otherwise, because I get this all the time in my sessions, this pattern just keeps coming back. Every month it's the same story, it's the same problems. It's the spouse, it's the money, it's the body, it's my time, it's my boss, it's my sister, it's my mother. Well, that's a pattern. And patterns are basically created through observation, practice, and that's how we build a program. We observe it, we practice it, and then law of attraction does this awesome thing by recreating it over and over and over and over again, and it gets louder and bigger until we go, oh, we have a program running, because you are a biological computer. And just like software is added to your computer to allow you to go in different directions on your computer, so like say Photoshop allows you to be a photo editor, you have programs running in your biological field that are telling you that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that everyone else is allowed to be beautiful and abundant except you. And these are deeply, deeply, deeply rooted in your root chakra. And they are manifested and created and then rewarded through pain and reward processing in your sacral. All addiction lives in the sacral energy. Everyone is addicted to something. And what we're addicted to is sometimes covering up programs, covering up problems. We're addicted to feeling good. We're addicted to feeling better at whatever the cost is. And I was no different in my dark night, because a lot of events just kept slapping me in my face that I could not overlook. And I finally said, okay, I'm ready for this pattern to be done. I need a process. And the universe, being loving to me, shut my car down, broke down my car, turned off my phone. The phone just stopped working. And I had to sit with myself in order to receive and surrender to this program and this modality that was delivered to me last week. It was delivered to me last Monday, and I taught it in TICA on Thursday. That's how important it was. I actually spent Tuesday and Wednesday processing this new modality on myself, because I can't stand not to feel good. I wanted to make sure that, first and foremost, it worked. Because again, I need to investigate it. And as I started going through this process that was downloaded to me about how to break a root-based pattern, it's done in the crown chakra. Because this is your knowing. Only you know why you created that program. Your root is just the instinct that's fulfilling the program. It's manifesting. This is your energy system. This is your action, your root. All you know is you're playing out this program. And your sacral is keeping you highly addicted to not feeling the feelings behind the program. So that's where your numbness comes from. That's where your attacking comes from. That's where your isolation comes from. Anything you do that makes this program feel less painful is what your go-to behavior is. And I was no different in that moment, because when I was having this dark night, all I wanted to do was feel better. And I was in judgment of myself because I didn't know how to make myself feel better. I couldn't take a pill. I couldn't call a friend. I couldn't get a life coaching session. I couldn't do anything that was going to make me feel better, because everything was an instant gratificational Band-Aid. And what my spirit, my soul, my being was asking me to do is go ask why. Why do you feel bad? Why is this showing up? Why are these relationships breaking down? Why are these things manifesting? And it was only when I went into that place and started to investigate without judgment that I could find that this was a very old, I'm not worthy program that was buried way down deep into my root, and become addictive, meaning I was addicted to feeling worthy. Anybody relate? See, when you have a program running that is not in alignment with your soul, you will be addicted to cover up that program. That's what happens. You will be addicted to covering up the program so that you don't have to feel the real program. So I've been addicted to feeling worthy. So I help thousands of people. I open wellness centers. I counsel every day. I work out really hard to stay in shape. I eat really clean. I try to do the best that I can as a parent, because all of those outside things make me feel worthy. But if I were to take all of those things away, who would I be? I would be exposing a program that was first and foremost untrue, but at a deep core place of myself, I was believing. I was believing that the only way that I was worthy was to stand up here, because there's a lot of pain that was buried inside of me, just like all of us, that's running these programs that are keeping you addicted to not feeling your program. Does this make sense? And so as I was doing this modality on myself on how to break programs, it was like, as I moved through my crown chakra to actually process, instead of processing from my root up, I processed from my crown down, which means that by the time I got to my root, my heart was there, my truth was there, and my knowing was there. And as I'm processing all of this behavior now that's locked into my root, there's love, there's nurturing, there's respect, there was kindness towards myself, and there was no judgment. And so instantly, as I moved through this process that I now teach in TICA, that's available honestly for everyone, because it's so fast and it works so quickly to basically get into that root program and accept and basically change the frequency of it. Because as soon as the frequency of that program is changed, it's basically like pulling it out of your computer and it's no longer there. And what I realized is that I was identifying, and maybe some of you have done this too, identifying with my worth of all the things that I was doing for people, or what I could give, or how I could show up, or how I could look, or all of these things. And at the end of the day, that was all what I had been manifesting to show me that that is not my worth. Because when you're doing all of these things and you still feel unworthy, there's something bigger underneath. And when I finally found it, as I moved through this 7-step process, if you guys know me, I'm a 7-stepper. 7-year cycles, right? 7 chakras, 7 steps to manifestation. Well, there's now 7 steps to breaking a quantum pattern. And when I say quantum, I mean all-inclusive, which means that anywhere it could have possibly started on your timeline, it is still running and activating in your now moment. Which means that frequency of wherever you picked up that storyline is deeply embedded into your hard drive, and it doesn't matter where it came from. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's from childhood. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's from a past life. It just means that it's quantum, which means that it doesn't matter where it came from, but it's here right now and it's still running. And what I do know is that until we break these patterns of who we are not, we won't be free. You know, it's funny, as I was listening to these Army veterans talk last night, they were talking about the beginning of America. And I always thought, well, America's intention was freedom. But the actual truth of it is the intention why people fled to America was this: to avoid war. That was the number one intention of why people came and started life here, was to avoid war. Isn't that synchronistic what we're doing right now? If you look at where we are as a melting pot, because the United States actually represents the entire planet. Everybody from everywhere came here first to avoid war and then to be free. And that's what we've done. We've avoided the war, haven't we? We've avoided the war within our families, within ourselves, within our own belief systems about abundance and the universe and God and religion and society. And we have avoided it by asking for freedom. And so it's ironic that as these people were talking last night, it was so synchronistic of what we're all going through right now. We've been avoiding the war within. And we created this sanctuary called the United States that's focused in freedom. And now our president is wanting to build walls. And so it's very synchronistic as how you are building walls to protect your programs. You're protecting your own programs because you don't know how to feel them, just like I don't, just like I didn't. And me as a teacher, my first job is to be as authentic as possible, even if it makes me look stupid. Maybe it makes me look unevolved. Maybe even if it makes me look unenlightened. That needs to be okay. Because the thing is an 18-year-old that goes off to war to serve and protect his country, he's not a perfect warrior. He's not a perfect soldier. But what he is he's there to represent an idea. And that idea is, I support freedom, however that needs to be. And so as we move into this second part of the year, it's going to be very, very important that we start looking at the war that's going on inside of us instead of looking outside. Because what's going to happen, and I've seen very close, I have this fun job of manifesting everything collective consciousness is manifesting every other day. You know, I go through what everyone goes through. Relationship issues, money issues, health issues. But what I'm doing is I'm doing it from a place of, this is not who I am. This is a program running. Not having money is a program. Not feeling beautiful is a program. Not feeling good enough is a program. It's all frequency and vibration, and it's stored in the deepest parts of your primal selves, the human self. And so as I began to work on this patterning, I realized that that breaking patterns is not just about breaking emotional relationship with yourself. It's got to be full service, me, myself, and I, mind, body, soul journey. Because your small self, that ego, that's helping regenerate those programs over and over again because it wants to feel better. It wants to feel bigger. It wants to feel important. It wants to feel wanted. And then the body that's holding all of those stories in place magnetically and allowing law of attraction to circle through itself and bring you the exact reflection of your reality that you are believing deep within you. And then the I am that's in you, that's navigating you towards your highest excitement. And your highest excitement right now is smacked right into your greatest wounds. Because this is go time. This isn't, hey, let's all feel better and free. It's, let's go all the way into the pain. And that was the most exciting thing I could think about. Think about your last wound mate relationship. Let's go all the way into this pain and let us be excited about it. Until all of a sudden the smoke clears and we realize what we just got excited about is exactly what we need to be working through. And as we start to work through it, what we're finding right now is we're judging ourselves. Because we're starting to see very clearly, the level of awareness has increased on the planet of 25% through the last month. We're on the straight path. Awareness is clicking on everywhere. And when you're aware of the very behavior that you've been acting out your entire life, yet it doesn't feel good to you anymore, you find yourself in self-judgment. why do I keep doing this? This isn't serving me. And then immediately, as soon as you say, why do I keep doing this? I'm in self-judgment. And we know that self-judgment is the only thing that ever stops the flow of energy. Judgment itself is the only barrier between you and God. That's it. It's between you and another word that we've talked about a lot in TICA over the last few weeks, love. Everything you're trying to make yourself feel better for through your addictions, your sabotage, your anger, your frustration, your guilt, your shame, you're avoiding love. The very thing that you are. You're avoiding the love that you could give yourself. You're avoiding the love that others may possibly give you. You're avoiding love that you could really give someone else if you could be vulnerable to not know that you wouldn't be hurt. This is where all of the avoidance comes from. And the third step of this process that I'm teaching is all about acceptance. Because acceptance is the key word for love. Think about the last time your child did something and anyone else would have done that and you probably would have judged them. But you didn't judge it because it was your kid, because you have unconditional love. It's time for us to feel that way about ourselves because our programs are going to become very apparent to who we are. Which means that your programs that are running at a root level are going to actually be very, very, very cognate to your crown chakra, which means that your higher awareness is going to start seeing all of your stuff. And you can't hide behind, well, my mom used to beat me. I tried that for a while. It doesn't really work for very long. Because that's not the story. The story is I wasn't feeling worthy. I didn't feel worthy of love. I learned to give love, give compliments, give treatment, give help, give assistance to feel loved. But that wasn't me really understanding what love was. Because if you've got that pattern running, and I'm probably sure 99.9% of us have this unworthy pattern flowing, we have to find all the way to the root of where it was created so that we can let it go and change the addiction. And as we change the addiction, because again, creation is about being obsessed. There is nothing that's ever been built in the entire planet that didn't stem from a total obsession. Am I right? If you're going to build that company, if you're going to write that book, if you're going to become a singer, if you're going to become a sports player, you are going to practice. It's all you're going to think about because you're obsessed. Because you are highly addicted. And that is one of the gifts of the sacral energy, is to help us be addicted to the things that we can quantumly focus on so that we may manifest our dreams and goals. But the problem is what are we addicted to? Because again, the universe always says yes. So if you say, I want to feel better, I feel bad, I want to feel better. And your sacral says, well, you've used alcohol, you've used shutting down on the TV, you've used, name it, to shut down. So this is what we're addicted to. This is what's going to make you feel better. And it's all about the body communicating with you to let you know how you feel in that moment, which means when I don't feel well, I'm asking my body, what do we need to feel better? And my brain says, well, we need this hormone, and this hormone. We need the feel-good hormones. What do we have in our level of abundance that will help us create that feeling of well-being instantly? Whether that be food, whether that be sex, whether that be alcohol, whether that be being a spiritual teacher. However you are feeling good, instead of going into the problem and looking at the problem from a higher perspective and asking yourself, when was the last time I felt this? How is this serving me? Is it okay that I don't feel better for a while I go through this journey? And I did a lot of this processing and patterning, and I cleared out a whole bunch of stuff until I hit this big root worth issue. And I'll tell you, I've been stuck in this one all week. And I'm only on step 4. And my step 4 is about creating ways and with my higher self that I can feel worthy without anything outside of me. Without my children, without my team, without my companies. without the way I look, without anything. My job right now is to create worth that I become addicted and obsessed with, that feeds my soul, not my survival. Because we have been in survival our whole lives. We've been, keep it going, be the peacemaker, be the caretaker, say what people need to hear. And if that's not the program you're running, then you're the introvert. You're in the hiding space. It doesn't matter what part you've chosen to play, victim or perpetrator. You know how to feel better instantly when you don't feel well. But is it serving you? Are you calling your practitioner and saying, this program keeps coming up, and I've meditated, and I've chanted, and I've spent time with spiritual friends, and I've read 18 more books. And this pattern keeps showing up. Well, I'm with you on that. Because I have the direct connection, and I still have the patterns that are playing out. So the processing that we're going to be doing over the next 6 months is actually moving out of judgment of our unbecoming. Moving away from the judgment of self when we keep showing up in those old patterns. Because this is the time where we're going to start manifesting those old patterns big time so that we may look at them differently. When we change how we see something, it changes. We know that. That's physics. When we build energy around something, we give it life. And we are really good at giving the things that we don't want a lot of life, aren't we? It's like everything is going well in your life except this one tiny thing, and that's what we're flowing our energy, that's where we're flowing our power. Because, think about it, your brain is a problem solver. It's here to help you solve the three-dimensional problems of you getting what you want. But somewhere along the line, even as spiritual beings, we have stayed in this pain and reward cycle our whole lives. I don't feel good, I need to feel good. I don't feel good, I need to feel good. I don't feel good, I need to feel good. Instead of going, why don't I feel good? How can I feel good? When have I felt this way before? Can I totally accept this? Can I set a new intention? Can I find a new obsession, a new addiction that expands my consciousness instead of contracts? Because every time you fulfill your not feeling good with feeling better instantly, it's a contraction. Even taking something to suppress a headache is going to contract the body and put it into an altered state of awareness, which means that you're not as aware. Instead of saying, hey, I've got this headache. What does this feel like? Well, it feels like I might be dehydrated, might be having a little bit of too much self-pressure going on in my life. Let's examine that, and let's move through the ideas of why I could be getting these headaches. Let's look at my body and how it's running and how connected to it, how mindful I'm being. Am I detoxing right now? And if that's the probabilities, then honestly, the headache will blow and clear of the charge. But if I keep taking the pill to suppress the feeling, then that feeling is going to bubble up and bubble up and bubble up and somehow explode. And if that feeling explodes, you guys all know what I mean, we start attracting the big manifestations. Because again, spirit is very subtle and very gentle and very kind and very loving and very nurturing. And it'll nudge you. Hey, you got this program running. I love you. Hey, you got this program running. You're my best friend. Hey, you got this program running. I love you so much. Here comes the tough love. Have you ever talked to your kids where you're like, honey, it's time for dinner. Time for dinner. Hey, everyone, it's time for dinner. This is your spirit talking to you. And so our manifestations get louder and more intense. And what happens is when our patterns project themselves, we move into self-judgment. And this is the very place right now that Second Sunday is all about. This is the time where you want to move out of self-judgment and welcome those patterns with tools, with acceptance, with understanding, with investigation, with insight and nurturing, and move down from the higher places of your being into the deepest, darkest parts of your own hell. Because you can't work from hell to heaven. You actually have to take heaven all the way down to hell. Because it's only with love that you'll ever be able to look yourself in the eye and actually love yourself. And I am in the process of doing that now. Our team is in the process of doing that now. And we've decided to not only integrate all of this quantum pattern clearing into TICA, but to also bring in experts. We have an expert health coach that has joined the TICA team, our A team, and she has a very successful business on her own, but she's going to actually be coming in as an A team member to help TICA facilitate basically quantum pattern clearing nutrition. Because believe it or not, the food that you ingest and the pills that you take are frequencies. And they can alter your vibration and your emotional state of being. A body that has inflammation will act enraged, depressed, anxious, scared, overwhelmed, all because the simple body is out of chemistry. So being able to support ourselves vibrationally with quantum teachings and emotional clearing and basically spiritual-based nutrition, and taking the physical element, because basically the body is traumatized, the spirit is traumatized, the ego is traumatized from the 3 different traumas: physical, emotional, and chemical. You know, when you're feeling bad and you want to feel good, you know what you're saying to your body? I need different chemicals. I need to feel differently, because hormones create the feelings, don't they? And so I don't feel seen and heard. My brain says, what's the most abundant way that I can feel seen and heard in my belief systems? Chocolate cake. Chocolate cake's always my friend. Chocolate cake loves me. And you know what hormones are actually given to me when I eat chocolate cake? Are the same ones that if I would actually go solve the problem. Dopamine. Okay, I feel better for 2 minutes. But what I just did was I ingested sugar, which is a neurotoxin, which actually causes my body to create inflammation. And now I have contracted myself, and I will have to do this all over again at some point later, more detailed. Because what we suppress and resist persists. What we cover up in life will be volcanoed in some sort of blindsiding effect that you call manifestation. But all it is you cannot keep pressure down forever when you've asked to become. Because when you've asked to become, you've said, I choose to be the greatness of myself, the bigger part of myself, the oneness of myself. I choose to be the I am. And in that, you become aware of everything that you're not. And in this process of unbecoming, we have to let go of judgment. And when we let go of judgment, then we can surrender to the actual solutions. And what is technically happening is we are moving into different frequencies and different parallel realities where these things never existed. Because the body does not understand the difference between real and imagination other than what you tell it. So if I'm constantly hiding my own programs from myself, which is what June is about, it's about self-understanding of one's own programs. We're going to finish up this Gemini energy, and we're going to move into Cancer. And that's all about, Gemini is all about the mental. And the Cancer is all about the emotional. So it's about these balancing that's going to come together between your logical mind and your emotional body. This is what's going to come together. So that war within that I'm talking about is only going to increase until you realize that it's time for you to hold up the white flag and say, I surrender. Because you are here to be an army, but not at war with yourself. You're here to be part of the army that is all about freedom and abundance and unconditional love. So, thank you guys for this quick little message. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, you might as well come on up. Yay, Susie again!
What happens when you're so happy and you're doing really well, but you sabotage yourself with, let's say, alcohol? What's that all about?
So you're doing really well and then you sabotage yourself. Well, what did I say? What is the biggest program that we're running? I am not worthy. So if I feel at the deepest parts of the places that I can't see energetically that I'm running a program that I'm not worthy, what happens when I start feeling happy? If I'm running that program,
You're gonna sabotage yourself.
I'm going to sabotage myself. Because somewhere deep down, I don't think I deserve it. I have guilt and shame. I have humiliation. So I am going to actually do something to create the program to continue. Because here's the thing, is we think that we're these conscious, aware beings, but your patterning is 95% of your vibration. And yes, you have free will. But when you're running a program, are you in the present moment? No. So you are in complete unity of the program itself, even though it's at a deep, unconscious, subconscious place. And it's running at that deep, unconscious, conscious place, which is going to change your behavior. Which means, I'm feeling really good, and this lower part of yourself says, I'm not worthy, and then all of a sudden, you need to sabotage it because you don't deserve love. You don't deserve to be in love. You don't deserve to love yourself. Does that make sense?
Okay, and then this one's kind of a past life thing. I have a kind of embarrassing question about my son. Ever since he could talk, he's been obsessed with, talks about it all the time, about Germany and World War II. Is this a past life thing? He wasn't exposed to that kind of information at all when he was so young. He's now 17, and it's gotten worse. It's very disturbing and embarrassing. If it's a past life thing, how can I help him to stop?
Well, first and foremost, why is it embarrassing for that person? Where is she in judgment of the idea that her child has something going on? That would be the first thing. Because here's what I say to you parents, is it's not your kids, it's you. And the kids that are being born now, they're coming in remembering a lot more than we did. And they're also more free. You're better parents than your parents were. You're more free in allowing your children to be who they came to be. And that's not always easy. You're not shutting them down. You're not treating them like, you know, that they can't be free. But if it's affecting you somehow, there's some self-judgment in maybe you having a child that is different. So maybe you don't feel it's okay for you to be different. That would be the answer to the question is how come it's not okay that you don't feel different? Why is that? Like, where do you need to clear within yourself to feel okay with allowing everyone to be exactly who they came to be? And maybe instead of being embarrassed by the child, actually allowing that child to go speak to someone about the stories that are playing in their body, in their mind, in their consciousness. So giving him some tools to work through what keeps showing up in his virtual computer. Because again, this is all about judgment. Everyone is coming specific in the alignment to change the world by two things. Being unconditionally loving and breaking all the rules. And it sounds like, parents, when you have children that are breaking the rules, it's triggering your stuff. It's triggering your own judgment. It's triggering your own right to not be able to break the rules that you choose to break. And of course, there are many, many, many people who are on this planet right now that have been in all kinds of wars from the past. Again, we came to get this right. June also represents the karmic balance of energy, which means there's a lot of things that you're actually manifesting right now that are balancing your karma. What you put out is what you get back. So if you've had a lot of things negative happen to you over the last couple of months, just realize that you are in the balance of karma. And I don't mean karma as a bad word. Karma is cause and effect. It's quantum, it's physics. What you put out into the universe will come back. And I don't mean the exact one for one. It's not an eye for an eye, it's a feeling for a feeling. Which means that if you had to play that dark night of the soul, or you had to give someone a box of darkness and you felt real guilt and shame about it, I can guarantee you that feeling has been buried in you, and you will actually play the other side of that in this lifetime, because this is the lifetime that we're here to balance all of the storylines. This is your ascension lifetime, so you're here to clean up all of it. Which means that if there's energy floating outside of you, there's guilt and shame energy, you will attract something on that end to clean up that balance of masculine and feminine energy, or cause and effect.
If we know the energy is getting deflated by triggers, what can we do in the moment to quickly turn our energy back up?
Well, first thing you can do is practice the art of responding instead of reacting. Now this is easier said than done. So, it is, as we know. But this is the thing about the now moment, is we are more aware than we were 2 months ago. We are more aware than we were 2 weeks ago. So in this moment, when the trigger comes, if you realize that the trigger was your very spiritual teacher that you needed in that moment, the exact carrot that you needed for your expansion, then you would look at that trigger differently as a gift. In TICA 3 weeks ago, we had the whole class was based on everything that's showing up is a perfect, perfect gift. The things that trigger you get your attention, don't they? And if it is manifesting in your now moment, it is the most important thing in your entire universe. It's not something to just push under the rug. I gotta feel better. I'm being triggered. This is everything. What do I feel right now? How is this person yelling at me making me feel? And then I can actually go into my higher steps of awareness and clear the pattern. Because if someone's triggering me in the now moment, it's not the first time. It is not the first time it's showing up, but it's the first time until the last time I suppressed it. So if it's showing up, it is your guru, it is your spiritual teacher, it is the nugget, the carrot that will propel us forward. And so we have to look at the triggers right now as the best possible things that could ever be manifesting. And that takes awareness. Otherwise, breathe it out, count to 100, get some time and space, journal, call your mom, get back in. Or don't call your mom if she's not triggered.
Okay, and then finally, will you tell us about the 7 steps of breaking the patterns? How do we get more information about this? Where do we find your class? What do we do?
Okay, I'll let Suze talk about that at the end. No, it's good right now. Well, again, the way that I work, I'm a Gemini, it's all communication and it's very quick. It comes in, I teach it in the moment. Okay, so this process that was just downloaded to me that I have just been doing on myself all week, and I will tell you that it has been just transformational in my own personal identity of how I see myself. So that right there, to me, I would never teach anything that I'm not living or doing or practicing in the moment. And so, again, the modality was just taught for the first time on Thursday. We recorded everything. We're packaging into a downloadable, which means that it's going to be an exact process for you to be able to follow in just a few, I think it's going to be a 4-hour process. And that will give you every step and all of your trigger work and all of your obsession and addiction work, the rewarding patterning, all of the quantum reprogramming will be in this downloadable. That will be available on our website. Susie will put the link onto
It's already on.
It's already on there. And just to briefly go through the steps. I'll just briefly go through the steps. So, because again, anyone who can kind of get this deserves to be able to do it. And the first step is to notice the program. Notice it. You see how I didn't say judge it. Notice it. Look at it. Sit with it. Observe it. Wow, this is happening again. Okay. This is what's happening. And what is the feeling that is associated with what's happening? See, it's never about what's happening. What's happening is a symbol. It's a carrot, it's a symptom. What is the feeling is what we actually need to clear. The feeling is what's lodging the vibration and talking over and over and over again to law of attraction. The next step is to investigate. To really dive into, when has this happened before? Let's look at this pattern. Maybe not the same story, but the same feeling. The same feeling of being let down or not good enough or not seen or not heard or not safe. Let's really investigate this on a bigger picture. And if you notice that each step is perfectly aligned with the chakras. So when I notice and I become aware of something, I am in my crown chakra energy. And there's never judgment in the crown. And as I move into my third eye, I begin to investigate with my sight and start looking at my life and all of these stories and all of these patterns that are playing out constantly. And then as I move into the next area, what I'm going to do is I am going to start the process, because everything in the healing frequencies are always in threes. And I'm going to move into my truth. And I'm actually going to realize in this moment that I have created this, because it is only through responsibility, the ability to respond, and total acceptance that I can take responsibility for the fact that I keep generating this story over and over again, and I kept medicating it with spiritual training, spiritual workshops, books, perfect diets, perfect bodies. I have been medicating my programs, even though I didn't think I was evolving into the quick fix. I was. Because if I don't feel better all the time, if I don't feel worth, if I don't feel abundant, that pattern is not clear no matter how many books I read. And so as I move down into the next steps, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be diving down deep into who I am really. Which, I will tell you, when I got to this step, you know, your throat closes up and you begin to feel all these feelings in your body that have been lodged there from God knows when. And what you realize is that this is going to be the best step, but the scariest step, because the next chakra is the heart. And as you start to move down into that heart chakra, you start to realize that the very reason that you created the program was to avoid love. Even though that's all that you are. Because love has been painful. We've had to survive, not thrive. So there's this big wall there. And this is where, you know, this is where this can get a little stumped. This is where you've got to be really aware with yourself. You're moving from the crown into the third eye, into your truth. So you are that mother of your own child in that moment. You have that higher self guiding this program now. And it is only until we clear what is in that heart chakra and expose it and allow it to be vulnerable to its own pattern creation that we can move back into our power. And in 2017, it's all about the solar plexus. It's all about the new beginnings. It's a 1 year. So it's all about these new beginnings and you being the deliberate creator of your reality. But right now, what we are is we are the deliberate pattern recyclers. We're doing it on purpose. And as we start to clear that solar plexus energy and reinforce it with the power of love instead of power, because think about every time that you've been insecure and so you tried to dress better, or you didn't feel abundant so you spent money you didn't have. This is a false power. False power, not real power. Not the humble power of just being able to give and receive, even if your heart gets broken constantly. Because the thing is when your heart chakra is healed, you never, ever, ever make a choice whether or not you're going to do something based on if your heart's going to be broken or not. Because there's nothing that can break your heart when that heart chakra is completely healed of all of those unworthy programs that's running. And then what we are doing is we're setting new intentions, and we're about to go into the sacral where we know addiction resides. We know focus resides. We know our sexuality and our creation resides. We know that's where obsession is. So now, as we move through, we have deconstructed an old program and we're creating a new program, because every child you ever meet, if you take something away from it, you got to put something in its place. And the universe doesn't like empty space. Well, at least the universe is empty space. You don't like empty space. Your ego doesn't like change. It doesn't like new. It doesn't like different. But that's all you are as a spirit. Ooh, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this. So as we move down to that addictive part of who you are, we're moving down now into density. We're moving down into the third dimensional game that you all decided to play. We're moving down into the human being. We're moving down into that space where we've got to play by the action and behavior and physical rules. But we're coming from a new direction this time. We didn't create a program from survival and instinct. We did not create a program from primal knowing. We didn't use the dinosaur or the reptilian brain to create the problem. We are creating the pattern from the top, biggest part of you, your higher self. And as we start to move into that sacral energy, what we're going to do is we're going to replace your addiction. Not take it away. We're going to basically clean out the old program, and we're going to put in a new one that is expansive. And that is all done with you and your higher self, because the way that it is written, you don't need anyone to do this with you. You don't need to call a practitioner. You don't need a spiritual guru. You don't need to meditate on it. You follow the steps that was given to me, and it will guide you with your higher self as your teacher, as your nurturer, as your lover into the darkest parts of yourself by holding you tightly and allowing you to feel safe. And in that moment, you create a new reward, a new obsession, a new addiction that is expansive, that is allowing you to be worthy without needing anything to create your worth. And there's absolutely no judgment. And it is only this, as we purify through the alchemy process all the way down to the root, and we start behaving. Because it is only when we give ourselves a new obsession, our highest excitement that is expansive, that we can move into the root and have the root actually be pure. What would that feel like? It feels pretty good. And so these are the 7 steps. And it's all outlined with, first and foremost, the first part of this downloadable workshop that I presented was also about how old programs are actually created, and what the mechanism behind the reinforcement of it and why they are so difficult to break. Because here's the thing is, we want to feel good, don't we? And so that's what we do every day. And every day that we're just feeling good, we're covering up the pain. So you guys, the front line, the army, the light workers, the messengers, it is your job to be at the leading edge. That you're saying, it's okay for me not to feel good right now. I need to feel this feeling, and I need to dive all the way down into it, and I need to clear the pain that's underneath it so I don't have to keep suppressing it with outside worth. Because you can't help enough people, you can't save enough animals, you can't build tiny home communities, you can't go save the whales if you don't feel worthy. Because what will happen is you'll take 6 months and you'll go out and you'll save a whole tribe in Africa, and you'll come home and you'll feel the same. So the war that we are really here to fight, or love, is ourselves. And so June is all about no judgment in the balancing of who you are, and allowing those programs to expose themselves without suppression, and use your higher guidance to move down through the higher realms into the root, into the action, into the manifestation of it with divine love and grace. So thank you guys so much. And I'm going to reintroduce Annette just real quick. She's going to do some magic stuff, whatever, and then I'll be back.
Boogity, boogity, boogie. Abracadabra. Okay, I just want to end up with giving you the different access points for this information. We've got Jessica Alstrom on Facebook, Quantum Life Free, Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life Paid, which is a subscription group that goes into a little more in-depth teachings. And every now and then, some TICA information gets put on there too, so you get a little glimpse into what the Consciousness Academy is all about. The Transcendence Wellness Center YouTube page, or just contact us on our website, www.transcendencekc.com. If you want more information about the brain tap, you can transcendencekc@gmail.com, and Susie will respond to that. If you really enjoy this transmission and want an energy for energy exchange, those of you that are here can drop a couple bucks in our little donation thing over there, and we don't mind if you donate online too. So we would love, that enables us to be able to keep bringing you these transmissions. So have a great, lovely day. Jess is going to sign off.
Okay, thank you guys for joining us live, as you do every month. There's been a few months over the last couple of years where I haven't always wanted to show up and do this. You know, sometimes this isn't my highest joy. Sometimes I'm working through my own dark nights, and sometimes I'm less motivated to stand up here and bare my soul. But I'm always grateful that I did, and I always get something amazing out of it. And Transcendence Wellness Centers, Veterans Initiative, Brain Tap, all of the things that we utilize to create a huge support web for the universe it's not about money. I don't stand up here and say, hey, donate to our cause. I say, just be a part of yourself. Just be more of who you came to be, and it will all work out. And when we take care of each other, the world changes very quickly. And so, you know, Susie's offered 30 days of brain tap Brain Tap is one of those things, if you guys have watched my videos, that we utilize, not from a selling point, but from a rehabilitation point. Because, again, when you're in the problem, you can't see the solution. And what the Brain Tap actually does is it moves you into a higher frequency of meditation, a theta-based meditation, so you can be more a part of who you actually are when you're making choices and decisions. It helps to clear old programs, it helps to clear old ideas, and it's an active investment in self-love, because if you're having a mind that can't shut down or meditate, you really need to meditate. And so this is us using advanced technology to not only help our traumatized world, but our veterans and our special needs kids and our extrasensory kids and ourselves, because we have all been to the war of 3D and we have all been broken and we're battered warriors. And so what we're doing is we're coming back into the healing process. And the shamans and the light workers and the messengers are waiting to receive us so that we can all work together to heal each other on this journey. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and being a part of Second Sunday, and thank you.